We know that our sages tell us that sometimes Torah does not follow chronological order. Ein mukdamu miuchar b'Torah. That's the statement in the Talmud. And sometimes it's very clear because the Torah itself says that, for instance, certain events in the beginning of the book of Midbar, it tells us on which date they happened, and they happened later than some other events that are described a little bit later in the same book. So it's clear that what is written before actually happened a little bit later. So the Torah doesn't always follow chronological order. In other places it's not so clear, and a lot of times there's a dispute in what order the events happened. Of course, one of the very well-known disputes that Rashi brings in the beginning of Parshat Yitro is, when did Yitro come? Did he come before the giving of the Torah, before the revelation at Sinai, or did he come after? It's written before, but that's not a proof that it happened before. So already in the times of Chazal, in the times of Talmudic sages, there was a dispute about it. So what I wanted to mention is an example where I think a lot of interesting things are understood in the light of possibly not following chronological order. It's an idea that's brought by a certain sage that lives in Israel, Rabbi Samet, that the story that we read in our parsha about Yacob blessing his grandchildren, the sons of Yosef, Ephraim and Menashe. There are a lot of questions about this story. First of all, it seems that these children are quite young. They even seem to be fitting between the knees of Yacob. On the famous picture of Rembrandt, in fact, they are little kids. Yosef brings his little children and shows them to Yacob, and Yacob first says, "Who are they?" Right? Did he not see them for the last 17 years? Our parsha talks about basically the last events that happened in Yaakov's life. Already he was living in Egypt for 17 years. So in these 17 years, he doesn't know who Ephraim and Menashe are. Very strange. So there are gathers about what his question was. Maybe it wasn't exactly a question of who they are, but rather something deeper, like Rashi brings. Or possibly, since Yaakov was almost blind, maybe legally blind, he couldn't exactly tell who is in front of him. But what this Rav suggests is that the psukim written here about the blessing of Yaakov actually happened when Yaakov first met Yosef. What we read in last week's parsha in Vayigash, when it says that Yosef made his chariot and came to Yaakov, and Yaakov fell on one of them fell on the other one's neck and cried. It's not exactly clear who cried. There's dispute about between Rashi and Ramban which one of them was crying. Was it Yosef who was crying, or was it Yaakov who was crying? But whatever the case may be, it could be that the verses in our parsha are continuation of that story, even though they're written here. So after that, Yosef presented his two little children. They would be little at that time. They were only a few years old, as opposed to 17 years later, they would be over 20. So he presented his two little children, and Yaakov said, wow, I didn't even hope to see you, and now I see your children. First he asked, who are they? And then he was making this statement, thanking Hashem that he was able to see his grandkids from Yosef, so something he would never even hope in his wildest dreams. Even Yosef, the fact that he is alive and he's able to see him is such a great miracle. And now, turns out Yosef by then had already children, and I'm able to see my grandchildren. So according to this possibility, these verses from basically the 8th verse in 48th chapter, Vayar Israel et bnei Yosef, Vayomer miele, right? Israel saw the children of Yosef and asked, who are they? From that verse on, this whole paragraph is talking about what happened in Parsha, in chronologically what happened when they first met in Parshat Vayigash. Very interesting idea, in my opinion. So why would the Torah wait until our Parsha and describe this event of Yaakov blessing his grandchildren? By the way, this blessing we still use it. It's used usually on Friday night. Every father, if he has children, he blesses by those same blessings, and as the Torah says, Bicha yivarach Israel. Through you, the Jewish people, the Israelites, will bless their children. We're still blessing with those same words. May Hashem make you like Ephraim and Menashe. So why is this only mentioned here and not in the previous parsha? The answer may have to do with the fact that this parsha has to do with blessings in general, so the Torah put together all the blessings in one context, even though some of these blessings happened 17 years earlier, when Yaakov first met his grandchildren. And if you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.